Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, I thought we'd begin by taking a look at the data released late last week, showing you the statewide precipitation ranks on the left and the statewide average temperature ranks on the right for May 2019. And we've talked about this so much, but I want to give you the actual data. States in the middle part of the country, including Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, setting their all-time wettest Mays on record. And the record length, again, goes back 125 years. We've discussed this pattern in great detail that's kept the midsection of the country toward the southwest very cold, while the southeast has had this rapid accumulation of growing degree day units simply because of the heat that they've had underneath that ridge. Well, that was what May held, and what I want to do is I just want to show you the difference a year can make. This is May 2019, this is May 2018, and look as I go back and forth at the differences between these 2 years. Last year, wet across the East Coast, wet down there in the Southeast, whereas the midsection of the country, we had large windows opening up where we could get planting done. In fact, some of the fastest planting progress on record. It was also, for many states right here in parts of the Corn Belt and the South Central United States, the warmest May on record. What a difference a year makes. Well, this is what we're dealing with right now. Normally in mid-June, I would be talking about what wind speeds would be doing as we'd be thinking about some June applications. And right now, certainly we have a big area of higher atmospheric pressure sitting smack dab in the middle of the country. And the winds around this, well, it's going to be a very windy day as that clockwise circulation sets up in the midsection of the country. But instead of talking about doing that kind of field work, we've stretched out our planting season well beyond 6 weeks. So this is going to be a very uneven crop as it emerges. And the winds that you see here, while they could be at times a drying wind for some people, wait until you see what the temperatures are going to look like under this same pattern. Early this morning, about 4:15, when I was recording the video, we already saw a broad section here of the United States, which was seeing overnight low temperatures dip into the 50s, into the 40s, and some locations here into the 30s. Meanwhile, the southeast was warm, and the southwest, where we're about to talk about the temperatures you're about to see here. But with that temperature pattern, which is going to govern much of our next 10 plus days, look at what the all hazards weather map shows. We can even see that some places tucked away right here in the Intermountain West, but also in the high plains, we've got out right now frost advisories. And at the same time that's going on, from the San Joaquin Valley up to the Sacramento Valley, we've got red flag warnings, we've got excessive heat watches, because we're going to see triple-digit heat in that area right in the Central Valley of California for a few days this week. In fact, take a look at this. This is temperatures on Wednesday. While this section of the country, including this part of here east of the Appalachian Mountains, goes back into temperatures where the high temperatures are in the 60s and low 70s. The West Coast, well, let's just start down here in parts of Arizona and Southern California. Triple-digit heat getting above 110. The Central Valley, almost the entire thing above 100 degrees. And we're going to see the heat spread all the way north up here into to near Yakima and the Columbia River Basin there. Triple-digit heat. So this is a stressful heat that's coming in, and as a consequence, there's a lot of concern about some early season fires. Well, the highly amplified pattern that got us into this doesn't seem to want to break down anytime soon. Looking over the next 5 days, because of this trough feature that's going to be sitting somewhere in and around the Hudson Bay and over the Great Lakes, we will see temperatures in the midsection of the country averaging anywhere between 3 and 10 degrees cooler than average, while the West Coast is just going to get lit up with incredibly hot weather over the next 5 days. And we've got a lot of things going on. We have these strong easterly wind bursts happening right now in the equatorial Pacific. That is a symptom of what's going on with the El Nino region. We have the Madden-Julian oscillation going through phases 3 and 4. And in addition to that, we're dealing with some high latitude blocking. And all that means is the pattern's going to continue to stay highly amplified. Look at days 6 through 10. We still are dealing with a broader trough feature that's going to sneak back in the middle part of the country, while the west underneath ridging is going to stay warm. So that pattern is one that's going to take some time to break down. You see over the next 10 days, we aren't really shaking it. And it's a time when we want to be getting heat. And instead, we're dealing with cooler weather and a lot of flooding in places. I want to take you quickly to the southeast here. If you live in the southeast, specifically in the Carolinas, and you are not following Brad Panovich on Twitter, you got to do this. At WeatherBrad, he is a phenomenal meteorologist, and this is just some of the flooding we've seen in parts of the Carolinas over the last few days. Let me show you what the actual map looks like of total accumulated precip just through the weekend. And while many of us in the Corn Belt actually saw a pretty substantial break from any sort of rainfall over the last, well, in some places, several days. Like, look at Iowa there. Look at parts of Illinois, parts of Minnesota. Other sections had quite a bit of rainfall to talk about. Now, when you look at these maps, anything that is above this color is 6 inches of rain or more, and this is just over a 3-day time period. In addition to that, we had some stronger thunderstorms that moved through in 2 waves up here in parts of the northern plains. And when you look at what the severe weather reports look like, we saw some nasty storms back on the 8th of June here in parts of Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas right in through this area, including 14 tornado reports. And then on the 9th, we come down here into parts of Texas and Oklahoma, and these storms down here producing 74 separate reports, including some very strong wind and some large hail. And you can kind of see that we're focused in there and around the Dallas area, stretching back into south central Texas. Meanwhile, like you said, the southeast was incredibly wet, and the flooding you saw in the previous video is the name of the game. Well, I don't want to make people in the midsection of the country know that think that I've forgotten their flooding problems, because it is awful there as well. I'm heading to St. Louis later on today to give a talk tomorrow, and the last time I've seen the Mississippi this high, well, that was the last time everybody saw it this high, because that was back on the 1st of August, 1993. We have now set on the Mississippi River at St. Louis the second highest flood crest there, and I'll be driving over a bridge just like that later on today, and I am anxious to see what the river looks like here. I remember in 93 with that water very close to the foot of the arch. So we're going to have to see what this looks like later on today. Okay, where are we going? Well, the problem is, remember I showed you at the beginning of the video, this particular region, those states were having their wettest year on record, and we're about to put down a lot more rainfall in this quarter right in through here as this upper level trough sets up. You're going to see multiple systems swinging around that trough. It's going to keep the weather cool in the midsection of the country, and it's going to keep a very unsettled pattern as we move forward. Meanwhile, look at the western United States, high and dry. That ridge is in control. Temperatures building, temperature stresses building as we look out west. So let's diagnose this pattern and figure out what's going on. Now, right now, our pattern, as I said, is highly amplified, and there are multiple reasons for it, but let's look at the outcome of those reasons. As I animate this forward, do you notice how we're unable to really shake this pattern as we progress through the second and third weeks of the month? And what pattern am I talking about? It's one that keeps featuring this deeper trough that develops here over the Great Lakes and this bigger ridge that's sitting here out west. One of the things that's helping to set this up, in addition to some high latitude blocking over Greenland, is this. You see this trough that's sitting just south of the Aleutian Islands. If we wanted a different pattern, we need to get this trough to sit right in through here. We want a west coast trough if we want to see some heat in the midsection of the country. That's the typical wavelength of the trough ridge system. So a year ago, we had that. We were building that heat picture in the midsection of the country. And in this year, wet and cool is the way things are going in the midsection because of that trough that I've circled right over here. And as you saw, we're all the way out now to this upcoming Friday. Look, here's the weekend. We just don't seem to shake it. That trough hangs around. And the pattern is established in the Pacific, and it just doesn't let go. So West Coast, this warming trend that you've seen, the extreme heat you've seen, we're going to see more and more of it with time here. But this deeper trough that just sits over the Great Lakes states, well, the latest model runs just don't allow that to kind of shake off and move east either. And so we may get through the month of June with a cooler, wetter bias in through this area with heat coming up the West Coast here. So that is what the jet stream is telling us at this point. Now let's take a look here at our near-term precipitation. Watch the northeast United States. This is where the first system is finally kind of moving on off to the northeast. So why these scattered showers and thunderstorms progressing early in the day through Michigan, but then getting through the eastern Corn Belt and up into the northeast. Down in the southeast, watch it. You've got widely scattered showers and storms down there. The Storm Prediction Center right now is not concerned that there'll be a large area of severe threat. This is, again, just the remnants of what we were dealing with last week. Moving through the north central plains out of Montana, coming moving through southern Canada, there into Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. We will be seeing some widely scattered showers in the day on Monday, getting into Tuesday morning here. But overall, it's a quieter picture for the country after the tumultuous weekend that we saw here. But let's move this on forward by taking a look at our high-resolution European model. Remember, there's a deeper trough sitting here. So our systems are going to come around it out of the northwest and then turn toward the northeast. And you're going to see, again, kind of a parade of high and low pressure systems. So let's just get this going here. Watch it again. As I click pause right there, system number 1 exits. Higher atmospheric pressure builds in the middle section of the country while we're dealing with rain Monday and Tuesday that'll stretch along the East Coast, and we just saw that. Here's your widely scattered showers and storms moving through the north central plains, but that higher atmospheric pressure is going to keep this region drier over the coming days. Now, as I get you out into Tuesday midday, we're going to be watching for a low-pressure system to develop there in the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, northern Iowa. And as it moves through, this is just a wave of cooler air. There's a front right in through here that brings widely scattered showers and storms Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, stretching from Wisconsin all the way down to Oklahoma and Texas. So you see it right there. So watch, that moves through as higher pressure takes over the northeast. But I told you it's a parade. So that moves through Wednesday afternoon, Thursday evening. See it moving off to the northeast. And look, high atmospheric pressure builds right back in. This is a pattern that I think we would see more frequently in fall, winter, and early spring, not now at the beginning of summer. So high pressure takes back over control for the end of the week. This is Thursday night into Friday morning. But again, another low pressure system shows up for Friday night into Saturday. Look, in the same location, just keeps going around that upper level ridge. We got the same corridor over which we're going to be watching for showers and thunderstorms to develop. So that swings through and moves to the northeast. Now I got you all the way out to next Sunday evening, early Monday morning. And you see it again, another area of high pressure moves in as a broader trough and cold front sweep through. So this is going to be a pattern that you're going to get a couple of days of break and then a couple of days of rain, a couple of days that are break as high pressure moves in, and then rain. And that is a cooler and wetter pattern. And we're concerned about that because we need the crop in the midsection of the country to move quickly right now. And instead, we are just continuing to see delays that may add up to 6 to 8 weeks, and this cooler weather's not helping anything. When we put it all together, I want to show you the next 15 days by the European model on the left and the GFS ensemble on the right. So we have both ensembles here. We can see that there's agreement over this wetter pattern here, but there's some differences, especially when you get into week 2, as to what's going to be happening in the western, Intermountain West and the north central plains with precipitation. The GFS has got a wetter pattern in through this area, and you can see that the European model has a drier pattern in this area. They do agree on the hot, dry conditions that are here spreading into the northwest and all the way down into California, but they disagree again on what's happening down in the south central part of the United States, getting over to the southeast with the European model showing up wetter. And again, those differences are in the flow pattern in week 2. There's some pretty good agreement through the first week between our two major modeling centers here, but the European picking up on a bit different pattern from the GFS as we get into week 2. What I'd like to do is to finish up these videos, let's give a little bit of perspective on global weather patterns today across much of Central Europe. So I'm thinking here from parts of France, getting into Germany, we are watching for a potential for a big severe weather outbreak. They've not only identified an area of high risk, but a significant risk here in parts of the midsection of Europe. And one of the reasons why that's happening is the flow pattern. We can actually see it better in the temperatures here. It's highly amplified. The same flow pattern that's setting up across North America is digging into a deep trough right here in this section of Europe going through the Iberian Peninsula. We're going to have outstanding upper level support in here for the development of strong to severe thunderstorms. Meanwhile, look at here's the Black Sea again. So look at parts of Eastern Europe and then Western Russia here. Warmer conditions throughout much of the next week in this corridor here. And in addition to that, while all of the energy of this next system is focused in mid part of Europe, we continue to see that the European model wants to paint this as is a drier picture than average. So this particular section of Europe here and Western Russia is dealing with some adverse weather as we get going into this month of June. I want to finish up by taking you just to two last places here. First, we can see that over the next 10 days, the northward progression of the Indian monsoon. They've been extremely hot, and we're starting to finally see the northward progression of the wind field taking that moisture inland to parts of India. And this is normal for this time of year. We think about where China's major growing regions are. I can kind of highlight them here for you. They're here, and they're also right in through here. We do see that over the next 10 days, we're going to have sections of China's major southern growing regions right in through here looking drier than average. There is some precip forecast, but the northern growing region's not too much of a story coming out of that. The Mayu front currently set up, bringing some widespread flooding to southeastern China. And I'll finish with one last thing. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this, but Sinabung here in Indonesia erupted today, and you can see the eruption plume here. And what I've been able to gather so far is while we're not expecting this to cause major weather disruption around the world, for this particular region, of course, it will be problematic, but I believe this might be a new record for this volcano sending its debris field here something like 22 to 25,000 feet up in the sky. So incredible to see this. All right, with that, we're going to wrap this video up. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions thank you for your attention. We hope you look forward to all of our forecasts coming out this week. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.